Alright, we're going to jump right into Module 2, which is creating this small commercial building in Revit. I have our final deliverable package open here, which is first floor plan, second floor plan, roof plan, and all of the elevations to this building. I also have my instructions open. There's some details in here that I'm going to have to know to get started. So actually, let me close this out. What we are going to start with is our last model, though, the one that we did for the foundation plans. And we're doing that because we've done some things to the model that will help us save some time in the future. There's certain settings that we changed. There's also our sheets that we've created that have the title blocks, types, families that we've created that will save us a lot of time. So we are going to go to our foundation plan, select everything that we see, and press the delete key. We're going to hit OK on this. It's basically telling us, hey, you're about to delete a bunch of stuff, so we hit OK. So now we can switch to our level 1 plan, because now we're going to be drawing architectural items, not structural items. In fact, we could probably get rid of this top of footing. We don't need that view or that level, although the level remains, so we have to delete this view as well. This view, just to clean up our template a little bit. So on level 1, we're going to start drawing our walls. We're going to look at the final deliverable to see our general layout of our building. We're going to go to wall, and for now we're going to select our type as exterior brick on metal stud. Be sure to choose brick on metal stud, not brick and CMU on metal stud. This is the one we want, because this is the essentially the exterior wall type that we want. Again, we're going to change our finish face to exterior. So again, the method is choose what you want to draw, choose the type, check your constraints. So we've got finish face exterior. For now, we're going to use base constraint level 1 with a base offset of 0. Our top constraint is level 2 for now. I always make sure that my top has some sort of constraint. And I'm just going to come in here, drawing clockwise around the general shape of our building. Oops, got that one on an angle. We have a piece of wall that comes out like that, comes down, comes over to the beginning, and there is the general shape of our building. I can actually trim this up with the TR command that trims to a corner. You click 2 walls and it makes a 90-degree at the corner. So I'm going to place my dimensions now to drive the geometry. And again, I'm doing this all in one dimension string. So I'll do an overall on this side, an overall on this side. Now I'm also missing what I'm calling the fin walls, so I'll go back in with my wall command and just, again, get something placed in here. Doesn't matter what the dimension is, I'm just getting the overall perimeter of the building in place. Now I can come in and dimension these positions. I didn't give myself enough room there, but that's fine. Well, we're going to have to do a lot of adjusting. Get that in. So now I can look at my final deliverable and I can size all of my walls correctly using these dimensions. Now I'll point out the fin walls, so this wall here, and this wall here are, as you can see, 1'4". So to get these dimensions to be correct, the thickness of that wall needs to be correct. So if you look at the instructions, here is my fin wall type. Basically, I've taken a generic wall and I've made it 1'4" thick, and I've used the brick common material for it. And the other thing that I've done is I'm changing the wrapping at the ends to the exterior. So I'll show you what that looks like. So I'm going to select these 3 walls since I already have them in place. Click Edit Type, duplicate because I do not want to change my exterior brick on metal stud. And I'm going to call this, actually that's not what I'm going to do. What I'm going to do first is change these to generic 12" because I want a solid wall. So now I'm starting with the correct type. Now I can edit this. Now I simply have a structure category. I can make this 1'4". I go to my material, I click the ellipsis button. That opens up my material browser. I can search for brick. I'm going to use brick common. Hit OK. And the last thing here is that wrapping at ends. I want to change that drop down to exterior. And what that's going to do is it's going to wrap my material around the ends of these walls. Typically walls will end at a corner or at another wall and you won't see that. Here our wall ends at the end and we want to see the material wrap around the end. One thing I forgot to do was rename this. So I'm going to call this brick 16 inches. So now you can see that that dimension is reading 1'4". So now I can use my final deliverable to get all of my walls in the proper place. I'll come back after I have that done. Okay, so as always, I'm going to check my 3D view to make sure that what I have done in a 2-dimensional view is exactly what I expected happening in that 3rd dimension. I'm going to go back to, I can close my foundation plan, I don't really need it anymore in this model. And the next thing I'm going to turn on my crop region down here in my view control bar, and for now I'm going to crop out my elevation markers. I don't really need to see them. I'm going to leave myself some room for my column grids. That should be good enough for now. I can re-hide that. So the next thing I'm going to do is place my column grid. We did this in our foundation drawing, so it shouldn't be too new. So we're going to go to Datum Panel, Grid, and we're going to just place these first. So I'm just going to place the first one, edit the name to be A, and then just selecting this, holding Control and dragging over with the blue inference to make sure I'm still aligned, do B, C, and D. Now D, it looks like, yeah, D I moved a little bit, so I may have to reposition that using the handle so that it aligns. Now I can go back to grid and I can do the horizontal grid. Again, before I do any more, I'm going to change the number so that when I copy these, Revit knows, if I could get that aligned, Revit knows to do these in a series, and it just continues your series, so I don't have to go back and edit all these. And just like the walls, again, I'm going to dimension these. So from the exterior face of the wall to the column line, so on and so forth, to the next exterior wall. And then I will use these dimensions to drive the locations of my column lines, and I'm going to get that off of my final deliverable back here to place those dimensions. Again, I'll come back after I've done that. So now I've established my structural grid. Grids are essentially, again, vertical infinite vertical reference planes as opposed to levels, which are infinite horizontal reference planes. Now if we go to a elevation, let's go to like the north elevation, we still have this top of footing in here. We don't need that anymore, so we can delete it. Now these are two levels, and you can see here in the plans we have a view associated with that level. We're going to clean a few things up. You can see this is all caps, this is not. So what we're going to do here is we're going to call this level 2 in all caps. And when it asks us if we would like to rename the corresponding views, we're going to say no. I like my levels when I'm in an elevation to say level, and I want my plans to be called first floor plan. And when this comes back up, I will say no, because again, I want these to have different names. Now again, level 1 is represented in a view by the first floor plan, and the same thing with level 2. I'm going to rename this, and I'm going to call it second floor plan. And this time it didn't ask me because I had already broken the link between the name here and here. Now I'm going to go ahead and create my other levels. First I'm going to bring these in a little bit. They don't have to be so far out. Maybe around there. Pull these in a bit. Now the only other level that we want that will also correspond to a view is the roof plan. And to do that, we have to go to the architecture ribbon. Again, the datum panel level. We're going to click that button. Our type is correct. We're going to check our options, and here is what I want to pay attention to, is make plan view. I want to create a floor plan view of this level. So I'm just going to come up here over to the left, get that inference, come over here. Again, I'm not worried about what the actual height of the level is yet. Here I'm going to call this roof, and I'm going to say no. Over here I'm going to rename this roof plan. Now all of my other levels do not have a view associated with them. So let's take a look at them in our final deliverable. We have, well, actually, let me go here. We have top of concrete at 1510, a top of parapet framing at 38.8, and a top of fin framing at 46.5 and 3/8. So I'm going to create those. Now the easiest way to create another level without creating a view at the same time is to just select one of these, and just like our column lines, we're going to hold Control and drag. So I'm going to create the top of parapet framing, top of fin framing, and then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to create the top of concrete. Now I can come in and get these all to the right levels based upon my final deliverable. I'll come back when that's done. One trick I can show you with these levels, when you have them overlapping, you can select the one of the levels that you want to change, and you see this little squiggly button here. You click that to add an elbow, and now we can use these handles to place this so that we can actually read that. I'm also going to take my column lines and extend them above my levels. And now we're ready to start changing the heights of all of these walls.